Hi everybody, today I'm going to do this little snowman. He's got sticky arms with some leaves on. Doing it on a 6x6 card, and I'm using Winsor Newton paints, and my brushes are from Rosemary & Co in the UK. I did some cards a little while ago and the quality wasn't very good, so these are the ones that I've ordered, and they came from a company called Paperbox in the UK. I'll put the details below in the description and a link to their website if you're interested. But so I'm going to do this little snowman, and like with most of mine, if I've got any snow I tend to leave that white and paint the shadows. So we'll see how we get on. I do tend to start, if he's got a hat, which he has, I've sketched it very faintly, you can barely see it to be honest, but I'm going to start with the hat, and it's got sort of stripes around it, and I'm just trying to mix the right colour. I don't really want red, that bright red. I wanted a sort of burnt reddish orange, which I think I've managed to get, but we'll see how it turns out. Yeah, that's not too bad, because with watercolours you need to remember that the colour you've mixed in the pan and you put onto your paper isn't always the colour it is when it dries, because watercolour has the habit of drying lighter, so sometimes it can be a bit disappointing when you first start out and you've mixed yourself this lovely colour and you think, oh, it's wonderful, and then when you look at it later, once it's all dried, it's not really what you were hoping for, and it can be really disappointing. But it comes with practice, and of course the beauty with watercolour is you can paint over it, you can layer it up. So if when this is dry and it's not quite the colour that I was hoping for, I could go over it again with a slightly different mix of red, and which one might help. I have a feeling this will probably be okay. I've done this video primarily in real time for you. I have cut out some bits where I'm drying the paper and mixing my paints. It does take some time to get the colours that I like, but I thought you might appreciate seeing me paint in real time rather than a speeded up video. You can, if you want to, you can speed it up yourself. That's fine. The settings are there down below. But I've just done this at normal time. Do you know, I love watching videos of people painting on YouTube, and I just find it so fascinating and relaxing. I don't know what you think about it, but it's a little bit bizarre. And sometimes when I look back at my own videos I've recorded to see my own painting process, I find it quite interesting, because when I'm actually in the zone and I'm painting, I just get on with it, and I don't. I've been painting for years now, so I don't always think that I'm doing it in a particular order, or should I be doing this or should I be doing that. I just tend to do what I feel comes naturally. I'd be interested to know how you all are, really. Is that how you paint? Do you do what you like, or do you tend to follow a formula? I know when I first started out, I tended to follow how my art tutor said, this is how it's done. I'm talking sort of 30 odd plus years ago, and I'm sure things have changed. But this, what I'm putting down here now, this blue, is actually creating the form and the shadows on the snowman. So I'm leaving the white paper to show that it's snow, and we're just putting in the shadows. And the brush I'm using is a size 4 from Rosemary and Co. They're a company in the UK that I use. You might benefit sometimes from using a hairdryer, or this is an old hairdryer I've got, or a heat tool to dry off your artwork before going to the next stage, especially if you're working with another colour close to it, because you may or may want the colours to run, I don't know. Sometimes you do want them to run, sometimes you don't. So, either if you like it to dry naturally, just walk away and leave it, or get the old hairdryer out and give it a whiz with that. Don't if your paint on the paper is still a little bit wet, and you can tell if it's wet, don't have your settings too high, because you'll start moving the paint around and you'll end up with something slightly blotchy from experience. What I'm doing here with the branches, I'm going to do 3 colours. This is yellow ochre, probably with a little bit of burnt umber in it, possibly. And then I'm going to mix up sort of like a medium tone with perhaps raw, I can't remember now, burnt sienna in it, which I'm putting down here. And then on top of that, I'll put a darker colour. I might actually pop in some ultramarine blue, which I love that. Ultramarine blue mixed with burnt sienna or burnt umber. It makes a lovely dark colour. It's better than, I feel it's better than using a black. It gives a lovely depth of colour. So I'm probably mixing up. Yeah, here I am. I'm coming back in, and again you can see that's a darker colour. I actually switched to a size 2, although the 4 brush had a nice point on it. I felt these twigs for these arms are very, very fine, and I felt it better to switch to a size 2. I mean, if you use a rigger brush or a script liner, I think you may call it in the US, you could use one of those. I do sometimes, but on this occasion I've just stuck with my 3 brushes that I've got from recently. Right, so I'm going back to do the second twiggy arm, and again I'm putting down the raw sienna mix. Oh no, sorry, oh dear, my worms. Yellow ochre mix. I painted this a little while ago, to be honest, and I've only just now got round to putting the voiceover. I was going to record it as I painted, but there was so much noise going on. My husband has a small area in the studio where he works on his computer. He's a PC engineer, and he was doing some work for somebody, and the neighbour's dog was barking its head off, so I thought the best thing was to just to get it down and then do the voiceover for you. Yeah. Right, so we're now going back with a slightly darker colour, and that creates a bit of interest to those little twiggy arms. I don't know if you can hear the seagulls. They've been really noisy today. I live on the coast in Norfolk in the UK, and they've really started to get noisy. Mind you, not as bad as in the spring and when they're nesting. Oh, my dear. You have to go out with a hard hat on in those days. Right, now, got a lovely red for the crown of his hat. This red that I'm using as the main colour here is Scarlet Lake, and I personally prefer it to cadmium red. I think it's a much, I don't know, it's got a sort of a lovely, I suppose it's got a yellow undertone really, but you know, it's a beautiful red. I think it's one of the older colours. I've had it for years, and I'm assuming we'll still get it, but it is a lovely red, and it mixes well with French ultramarine and the yellows and everything else. Right, little baubles, little, you know, these pom-poms you have on your woolly hats. They're always quite tricky to do. I just do them with little flicks, as you could see there, and usually have 3 shades of possibly the same colour, sort of light, medium and dark, to help give a bit of form and shape to that pom-pom. Right, what am I mixing up here? A bit of yellow. Oh, the nose. Oh dear, this nose, it caused no end of trouble. I love doing these little snowmen, but you know, I struggle with their noses. I can never get them right, but this one's all right. A little bit cute, turned up at the end. The card that I'm painting on is it's got a linen finish, and it's really nice. The ones I was using before, if you've seen my previous videos, I think it was the first 3 or 4 that I did previously, the paint seemed to just sit on top of the card, whereas this one, it seems to work very nicely with the paper. So I'm much happier painting on this rather than that other card. It's got a nice finish to it. The buttons or lumps of coal that I've just popped in there is indigo. I just used an indigo mix. I might have popped a little bit of brown in it to change the colour slightly. Got my cat here in the studio with me, my little kitten Charlie, and he keeps wandering over my laptop. I don't know if you could hear him purring. Yeah. All right, just drying that off. I'm holding the hairdryer away from the areas I've just painted, because those buttons that I put down were quite wet, and if I'd have put it directly over top and had it on a high speed, that colour would have just spread, and I might have had some little runs and little things. That was Charlie. I don't know if you could hear him. Right. Seem to be mixing up some green. Right, so it looks like I'm going to now put the other colours in on the scarf and the hat. I've chosen green because red and green are opposites on the colour wheel, and they always seem to sit nicely together. I'm not being overly particular and fussy that they've got to be within the lines. It's just creating that impression. I mean, you might like to be more, I wouldn't say particular, but more thorough in how you like it. I mean, some people do like it very neat and tidy, and it looks lovely when it's like that, but I'm afraid to say that's not for me. I'm a bit, perhaps slapdash sometimes. I like the irregularity and the fact that there's white bits in between and it doesn't look as if it's finished off. I just had the banner pop up on the screen. If you are enjoying this video and my other ones, you know, perhaps you'd like to consider subscribing. If you do, you'll get notifications of when I put up more videos. I'm trying to do a few more for you. Obviously, there's the time element. I am actually retired. I don't work. I've been retired a number of years now. But it's the time, you know. I mean, I always used to laugh at my dad when he was retired, and he used to moan about the fact that he never had enough hours in the day, and he can't imagine how he had enough hours, you know, managed to get to work. And I used to think he was mad, you know, he's absolutely bonkers I was sort of working hard and dashing here and there at work, and still doing stuff at the weekend, like you do, and in the evenings. Whereas now I am retired. I just don't have enough time. There are so many things that I enjoy doing that fill my day. I love painting and doing these videos for you. And then there's the editing, there's uploading, there's the washing, the cleaning, the iron. Well, I wouldn't say ironing, but since the pandemic, I don't think my iron has seen the light of day that often. Who's the same? Put your hands up. Who doesn't iron much? Oh, what a thankless task. Right. I have, you might be able to just see at the top of the screen there, I have 2 little pots of water. They're only these tiny little jam pots that you sometimes get. You can pick them up sometimes in supermarkets, but they usually, if you go into a cafe and have I don't know, an afternoon tea or something like that, and that you have jam or honey in them, I usually bring them home, and I have one for, I fill them both with water, and then I have one for rinsing my brush, and the other one is for picking up cleaner water. I find for me that I like to have my colours mixed with clean water. I know some people just use one big jam jar or container, which is fine if that's what you like, but I like to get rid of that colour I've had on previously and then pick up as clean the water as possible for my next colour, and I find that helps keep the colours bright, because no matter how careful you are with your water pot, you've got colour particles in there which keep coming out on your brush every time you're mixing your colours. When you're working on white paper, and something like this in particular, it's nice to have sharp colours. If you're doing a landscape, it may not matter quite so much, and I would say that I probably don't. I probably would just use one pot if I was doing landscapes. But for something like this, pick up nice clean water and you've got a nice bright piece. I'm trying there, as you could see, to mix sort of like a greyish blue. And the colours that you've got in your palette are colours that you can use to mix in with the works that you've got on now. I very rarely clear my palettes. And the colour that I mixed is ideal for the shadows in the snow, for what he's sitting on. I think we're nearly getting there, folks. It looks as if we're slowly coming to the end. Now, here, I'm trying to decide whether to do any spattering. And to do that, you need really to protect what you've done. And I decided not to, because I wouldn't get it where I wanted. And rather than risk the spatters getting onto my little snowman here, I decided not to. Just putting some little marks on his nose. If you look at carrots, they have marks on them anyway, so just put a little bit of character on there. He's got a nice little smile. He looks quite happy, doesn't he? Yeah. Oh, right, now this pen, I love this pen. It's a gold calligraphy pen. I can't at the moment remember what it is, but it's got sort of like the nib's flat one side and thin. So it's a sort of squat nib. So it'll write thick and thin. I'll put the details below. But here we are, all finished. And then it just needs drying off, having a insert fitted inside. You can buy from paper box inserts and envelopes. And there it is, all done. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.